Today is Tuesday, January 29th, and I went to the knee doctor today. So I figured maybe it would be a good idea for me to document my progress when it comes to patellar tendonitis, because it might be useful for somebody else just to know how long it might take, what exercises you can do to help strengthen whatever the issue is. And I did have this issue in 2017. I'd say towards the second half of the year. I went to see the same doctor, and we did massages, stretches whenever I went to see him, and then he would give me a list of exercises to do. And I do recall it getting better because I stopped going, but now I have to go back. In terms of today, I'd say that walking around, I don't really feel it that much. It hasn't been that much of a bother for me today. I went there, we did an hour appointment. He spent most of the time in the beginning talking to me, and I would tell him stuff like, can I still horseback ride? Is this certain exercise bad? Because I do a lot of abdominal exercises or leg exercises. So some of my leg exercises, I like to balance on one leg. I like balance exercises because it challenges your core, and I feel like I'm pretty good at it, so it's a lot of fun for me. When I did personal training, I really enjoyed doing Bosu ball exercises, so I feel like that's very similar. I just don't have a Bosu ball, which I would totally like to get someday. They're just kind of expensive. I would ask questions like that, or ask whether a specific exercise like bicycles when you're on your back, when you do opposite elbow to the opposite knee. And there were times where just me extending my leg would be very uncomfortable. So I would ask him, is that potentially a problem? But he says most of it really isn't. It's just that since your knee or the muscle surrounding it is in a very bad place right now, you just naturally will feel discomfort from a lot of that. So he did say that I don't have to stop horseback riding, because 1 hour once a week, he doesn't think it'll be bad enough or frequent enough to cause an issue, so I am glad about that. So usually when I'm there, he has me lie on my back, and then he goes through a series of massages and stretches on both of my legs. It's probably hard to explain what that's like, because that's only treatment that you would get when you see a doctor. He does a variety of things, and then he also uses a tool that kind of scrapes the tendons around my knee, and that one actually hurts quite a bit. I'm pretty sure the main reason for that is because I have a lot of weak muscles around that area. I feel like a healthy individual, if you were to scrape the area around your knee, it wouldn't hurt as badly as it did today. It was pretty awful, I would say, but I wanted to be strong, and I didn't want to ask him to lower the pressure on how hard he was scraping my tendons, because I know that it's pain, but that's a good kind of pain that will help me in the long run. So I just kind of tolerated it. I will definitely film the exercises that he wants me to do on a daily basis. It is partially similar to what we did last time, but then there's a few others that he wanted to add in. And surprisingly today, I did learn that my squat posture isn't actually as good as I thought. And there is still a lot of issue with my knee angling inwards when I want to do a lunge. Even when I do a squat, sometimes if I go too low, I think I bend forward too much. He did also say that my core strength might not be up to par, because he had me lie on my back, and he told me to do something with my legs where I needed to keep my back flat on the floor. Sometimes in the past, my trainer would stick his hand in the small of my back, and he would tell me to keep pressure on his hand, like keep my back touching his hand while I'm doing some sort of core exercise, and it would be really hard for me to do that. So today, when he told me to do that, I feel like I couldn't really do it at all, or it took so much mental power for me to force my back into it that it probably shouldn't be that difficult. So that was maybe another clue for him as to something else I could work on that could overall assist me with this recovery process. So for now, he does think that I need to see him once or twice a week. I'm okay with that. It really depends on how much these visits cost. I don't know how much my insurance covers just yet. Last time when I went to see him, I worked at my other company, so I had a different health insurance. So I do remember our visits being roughly $25 every time, which isn't that bad. 4 times a month is still $100, so that's not something I'm too thrilled about, but it is your health. So if he wants me to come 2 times a week, and if it will help expedite, possibly speed up the recovery, then I don't mind that. It just depends on the cost. I think if it was $40, I don't think I would do 2 times a week. That would be extremely expensive, and I'm not actually sure how much the massages and the stretches will really help. It's nice to talk to him in person, but it's just quite costly. So I will try to keep this diary up to date. Anytime I see him, if there's any progress, I will be sure to update. It might just be, I feel like I have a very weak point when it comes to explaining a feeling. So explaining how this patellar tendonitis bothers me can be a little difficult at times. So if not for that, I will just at least mention my progress in terms of at what point since I started seeing my doctor do I notice tremendous improvement. My goal that I told him was that I would love to start jump roping again. Jump roping is one of the last steps to take, he said, because jumping is very, well, for jump roping, he did say that if your form is good, there shouldn't be that much impact on your knees, but it's still some shock, I'd say. So I would love to do jump roping again. That's one of my favorite cardio activities. So not being able to, especially when I've reached a point where I'm starting to do double unders reasonably well, was a little saddening. I am going to eat some dinner first and then maybe wait an hour or so before I do my exercises. So I'll film those for you guys just so people can see, and maybe if you have the issue yourself, seeing how I progress can be helpful. So for all of these exercises, I am using a resistance band. So I'd say for this exercise, what you really want to focus on is making you keep your knees pointed outwards. Make sure you squeeze through your glutes, squeeze the heck out of your butt, and I do 20 repetitions of this. Next is one-legged bridges. Similar to regular bridges, you want to make sure that you keep your core tight and you squeeze through your glutes. If you feel any pain or discomfort in your knee, you could always move your foot that is on the ground closer to your butt. That way it allows you to use the focused muscle groups more easily. For this exercise as well, I do 20 repetitions. The next one, you have clamshells. These are pretty self-explanatory just based on the visual. And I'd say for this one, you just want to focus on making sure that you don't overextend your hips. After that, I have no idea what this exercise is called, but it's simple. You just keep your legs straight and you open your legs. Similar to the clamshells, don't open your legs too wide. Just do enough to feel the stretch and the resistance, and then just bring it back down. Now, of course, we do the other side, and just to prevent myself from repeating it too much, every single exercise I will do 20 repetitions of, and overall for these exercises, he wants me to do them twice a day, so 2 sets. This exercise is a new one that he gave me today. At first, he did say that he wants me to do this on a ball. I don't actually own one at home, so maybe after I reach a point where I'm strong enough where doing it on a ball is appropriate, then I will purchase one. But for now, doing it on a stable surface is probably best. Lastly, we have our simple squat. So since he told me that my form is not so great if I go too deep, I made sure that I didn't drop my hips too low. And you want to make sure you keep your knees behind your toes, and definitely flex your abs, squeeze your butt. When I stand up, I try to make sure I really squeeze my butt in, but make sure that I'm still standing straight. That was something I was kind of wondering about, because when I showed him my pelvic thrust after fully standing up, he was like, you don't need to overextend like that. Like, don't freaking thrust your pelvis forward. You just have to squeeze your butt in and stand up straight. The squat can actually be a little bit challenging for me at times because of my knees wanting to turn inwards. So every time I'm squatting downwards, I really focus on making sure I keep my knees pointed outwards. And then the last one is just sideways walking with resistance bands. I don't really know what it's called. For this one specifically, I've actually been doing it kind of wrong this entire time. I used to step out way too far, but he said that you want to do small motion. He also said that you don't want your legs to be too close together when you step in like that. So I might have actually stepped in a little bit too close for some of these, but I'd say you want to make sure there's always some resistance going on in terms of how far apart your legs are. And then lastly, we have one of the most important steps, which is rolling out your muscles. So I'd say when my knee was in a much worse state, foam rolling was extremely painful. Right now, it can still be reasonably painful in certain locations. So just in case people are curious like me about why this is good for you, apparently it is a great way to smooth out your fascia, which is the connective tissue that stretches over and through your muscles. So apparently when you're doing a lot of repetitive motion or inactivity or have some sort of injury, it can cause these tissues to bind together. But when you roll it out, it releases the knots, and then it also helps to reduce muscle tightness, and it really improves joint mobility. So foam rolling was something I did not know about at all until I'd say a year or two ago. But a lot of trainers that I follow or that I've been to definitely recommend it, and they do also recommend doing it on a daily basis. So I've been doing it for a while, and I definitely notice that my legs feel better after I do it.